Welcome to the Public and Protective Services Committee meeting for July 23rd. On this committee is myself, Chair Mike O'Connor, Councillor Wendy Bosch, Councillor Kevin O'Toole, and Mayor Jackie Clayton, who will be online. I'd like a motion for adoption of agenda. Councillor Bosch.
I move to accept the agenda as presented.
Thank you. Please vote. Jackie, how do you vote?
Clayton in favor.
Thank you. That's carried unanimously. And we'll now go to delegations. We'll invite the 3.1 Grande Prairie Regional, I'm assuming that's tourism. Thank you. Couldn't see it all. So if you could come up to the microphone, Ms. Kate Potter, and introduce yourself. You have 5 minutes to do your presentation. However, if you go a little long, that's fine. However, if I do ask you to quicken it up, it's not meant to be disrespectful. So the floor is yours. Take it away, Ms. Potter.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. It's not often that I am on this side of the hot seat, so I appreciate your, you're welcome. My name's Kate Potter. I'm the mayor of the town of Sexsmith, and I'm also the secretary-treasurer for GPRTA. I send the regrets of our newly elected president and vice president. Unfortunately, with the change in date, it did not work for them to be here today, but they do wish that they were here, of course, to see all of your happy faces. So GPRTA, as you're aware, has been through many challenges over the last year. 2023 was a hard year in a number of different ways, and it's no secret that we had some challenges within our staffing. We had a significant changeover with our executive director and another staff member, and that there was some difficulties in other areas within the organization, and that just sort of exacerbated that whole situation. And so 2023 for us was really an opportunity to do a lot of rebuilding. We did hire Doug Anderson to help us with our financial situation, make sure that everything was kosher on that end and being used properly. We did work very closely with Travel Alberta to make sure that their funding was used properly and accounted for properly. We also made some changes to the executive, so I moved into this position in November. And then, like I said, our president and vice president were just elected at our AGM, just after the AGM, at the board meeting following in June of this year. So we're actually really excited about where we're headed. We have been on an executive director search with full effort since January. And as of last week, we actually hired the HR firm, The Agency, located here in Grande Prairie, run by Danielle Hessler, who you may be familiar with, to do some headhunting for us. Because while we have had 3 candidates come up for final vote, 2 of them chose not to come, and 1 we discovered was not a suitable candidate once it came to the board. And so we're quite optimistic. The agency is quite optimistic that they have people in place or people in mind to pursue. And so we're hopeful that that will happen fairly quickly. And they do give a guarantee / we don't pay if that doesn't happen. So we are also glad for that, because it costs a lot more money. But our HR committee put in countless hours trying to find the right person, because we don't just want to fill the spot with a warm body. We want to make sure that they're the right fit and that they can drive the organization. So for us in 2023 as well, one of the challenges that we faced was obviously the smoke. And that affected a lot of tourism across the region. Most people's numbers were down because of that. People weren't venturing outside. They weren't necessarily venturing into areas like the Grande Prairie region. But we are hopeful that that is turning around this year, even with the heat. Our numbers are on par or a little bit higher than last year. The reality is that since COVID, fewer people have been using traditional services in the same way. And so that's where we're hopeful as well that having a new ED will be able to pivot on that and make our services accessible across greater platforms. So really using things like online or Google searching, Facebook pages, Instagram, the things that people are using to decide where to go and what to visit. We have continued to have strong numbers at the Visitors Center, and that's a great place for us, for the region to be able to host not only visitors, but also our own people. It gets used. I'm in there every week for a staff meeting that we run while the executive director is not here. And every time I'm in there, we have regular visitors that come in. We have sometimes actually city workers who come and take their lunch break there, which is kind of fun. And just general population. They know that the building is open and accessible, and it's a really beautiful building. And so it gets used on a very regular basis, day to day, over the summer. We are open 7 days a week, and that has been something that's been that way for a long time. And we want to continue to offer that because while some people do go online and plan things out, others are a fly by the seat of their pants. And most of the visitors that we see at the Visitor Center never had any intention of stopping by, but get drawn in as they're driving by. And so that's a win for the center to be able to offer the services that are there. The Rotary bus tours continued last year in 2023, and they have again this year. We are suggesting a review of it after the end of this year to determine, it's been running the same way for quite a long time. And so we'd like to work with the Rotary and the city on that so that we can best utilize that. There are some days that have very full buses. There are some days where there are very few participants. And so we just want to make sure that we're using that money to the best of our ability. The only other thing that I will mention is just some of the Canada Day and special events that we do also operate on behalf of the city and some other partner organizations. So we've done the Canada Day games booths for a number of years, and last year was a surprising record-setting year for us. And then this year again, that actually grew, and so we had more participants and more interaction, which we were very thankful for. We did hear good feedback from a number of people saying it was well operated, and a great way for us to not only promote the city but also the whole region when we're down there. So we hand out our visitor guides there, and make sure that we're trying to encourage people to stay longer and to explore more that's in their own backyard for something like Canada Day, because most of them are from this region for the Canada Day celebrations. So I think that's it.
Okay.
Hopefully I'm under by 5.
There was some license there.
Okay.
So thank you, Mayor Potter, and Executive, what is your position?
I am the Secretary-Treasurer.
Secretary-Treasurer. Thanks for your report. I'll open it up to council for questions. Mayor Clayton is first.
Thanks so much, Chair O'Connor. Just a quick question for those who might be watching online. Could you tell us, Mayor Potter, who the new chair and vice chair are?
Sure. So our president is Brian Grant, who is the CEO of the Grande Prairie Airport. And then our vice president is Paulette Butler, and she is the general manager, thank you, totally slipped my mind, for Sandman. Thank you, Wendy.
Okay. Grant Berg.
Yeah, thanks, Chair O'Connor. Although I'm not on this committee, I do sit on the Grande Prairie Regional Tourism Board on behalf of the city. So, Mayor Kate, thanks for the presentation and coming here today. You'd mentioned that due to the smoke last year, tourism was down. So, this may be a somewhat more philosophical question, but volunteer tourism versus forced tourism. So, of course, people weren't necessarily coming here because they wanted to, but rather out of the Northwest Territories, they were evacuated and forced to come here. Now, just even this morning, we're hearing Jasper and Jasper National Park are being evacuated, and we're one of the two centers that people are being sent to. Is there anything special that tourism does, or a different angle or approach to these visitors that are coming here due to evacuations?
It's a super good question, Grant, and I should say Councillor Berg. I appreciate the thought. I don't know that tourism, at least in our region, has thought about forced tourism versus volunteer. I think last year caught us off guard, and our organization tried to pivot best it could at that time while going through the other challenges internally that were happening. I don't know that we did a great job of it. I think there's great opportunity there, and I know that conversation has been happening already as in our staff meetings on a weekly basis for this year. While we haven't seen up until this point the evacuees and the sort of forced tourists into our region, we know that it's happening now, and it started happening last week, of course, with Fox Lake and some of the northern communities. And so it is a great opportunity. We have talked about, we do have strong relationships with the hotels where a lot of the evacuees end up staying. And so trying to encourage them, or to say, here are some opportunities for not only paid recreation and tourist things, here are some free things that are happening, so that they can also have the opportunity to recreate and enjoy their time in the city. And so things like the Street Performers Festival and Rib Fest last weekend, that was a great opportunity for some of our northern evacuees to be able to take in things that they wouldn't normally be thinking about during a time when they're evacuated. So I think there's great opportunity there. It does need to take more effort on our part.
Yeah, and with that, any tourist that goes to the information booth will always be treated welcome and
100%. And you know, it isn't a secret either that some of the visitors that we get at the Visitor Information Center are disadvantaged residents of the city of Grande Prairie, and they are treated the same as anyone who walks through our door. The only people that we are concerned about are those who are causing damage or who are a danger to themselves or others. But we have actually a really good relationship with the community services with the city of Grande Prairie. And so when there's the mobile outreach unit, will come down, and we have a good working relationship with them, with our staff, so that there's good communication, and overall it's a safe and welcoming place for anyone.
Yeah, thank you. And for those evacuees, just putting this out into the universe, we have an air show this weekend.
Yes.
Hey, thanks, Kate.
Yeah.
Okay, kill two birds. Thank you, Mr. Advertiser. Wendy Bosch, Councillor Bosch.
Thank you, Chair. Just a comment in regards to the evacuees that potentially could be coming from Jasper or the north. I think our command center as well that is being set up will assist in regards to letting people know that they can go to regional tourism to check out what's happening there as well. I'm certain they will. And just a thank you to you and the rest of the executive for, you know, holding up the building and the resources for regional tourism this past year, and the staff there as well. So yeah, we are going through changes, but you know, it'll be good in the end. Thanks.
Thank you. I will pass that along.
Oh, Councillor O'Toole snuck in at the last second. This is the last question.
This is something that he would pull, so I'm here. I will be doing a couple of those Rotary tours next week.
Oh, awesome.
I'm going to sit on the bus and get educated. And but we have had an unbelievable amount of responses on that, and people come from all over the world, and that opens up their eyes to see how things are done here and actually how pretty the city is, and we get a lot of compliments like that. So thank you for doing your part, and the tourism board to make sure that keeps going, and the Rotary. I don't know how many years they've been doing it, like 25 plus.
Yes, quite a long time.
Yeah. So with that, thank you. And I will just wanted to say thank you and let us know that the city has got a pretty good tourism commitment to this town.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Clayton.
Thanks, Chair O'Connor. Thanks for being here, Mayor Potter. Just a comment more in the absence of an executive director. I just was wondering if you could share with your team, with the team over at GPRTA, just as a reminder that the City of Grande Prairie has an excellent events page that really is trying to encompass one local point or one consistent point where you can get information about events that are happening in the city and across the region. And so sometimes those volunteer-led events get extremely busy. And so if GPRTA could be an ally in helping us collect data for that, it would be greatly appreciated, because we'd like to continue to enhance and grow that website in regards to event information, so that not only our residents, but people such as evacuees have an easy central place to learn about things that are going on in our region.
Thanks, Mayor Clayton. I will pass that along.
Okay. And with that, thank you so much. You speak so well. I appreciate your presentation here today and look forward to hearing updates in the coming year.
Thank you. Thanks for being such gracious hosts and not giving me really difficult questions. Enjoy the rest of your morning.
Okay, thank you. And with that, we'll invite up on item 3.2, Nitehawk, and Mr. Clarkson will come up and do that. As, of course, you've heard me say before, you have 5 minutes. I will give you a timer on that, and then we'll see how it goes.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Chair O'Connor, for having us this morning. And thank you, Council, for your continued support always of Nitehawk and all the things that we do for our region in terms of outdoor recreation. So really appreciate that. And also, actually, I'll introduce my board president, Aaron Lazarek. He's joining me here today. So he'll add a few words here at the end and just, again, a thanks to you. So we'll just jump right into this.
Just to build on what Jonathan said, I always like to believe that the City of Grande Prairie always puts a priority on building strong communities, and I've always found that to build a strong community, you need healthy minds and healthy bodies, and I always feel that Nitehawk does its key part in doing that, and you guys have always been very supportive of that, so thank you for your ongoing support, and thank you, Councillor Platt, for your time on joining us on all our board meetings and your support.
Awesome. Thanks, Aaron. All right. So I'm just going to jump through some slides here, just into terms of our 2023 update. So this year, again, your support, along with the support of our other two municipal partners, is certainly added to our facility. And that. So we've added some new snowmaking guns and hose inventory, updated one of our snowmobile fleet machines, replaced our electric air compressor, installed additional security cameras throughout our facility for increased security, because that has been an issue over the last little bit, experienced by, I think, the entire region. Replaced one of our on-demand hot water systems, our RO water system, and that supplies water to the lounge and cafeteria. And most recently, actually installed a Yanmar heat pump unit, which I'm really excited about, because that's going to help us address one of our biggest issues, which is our energy consumption. So that's going to be replacing 4 portable building furnaces. We also added, exciting for our school programs as well as our summer camps, 33 Trek Roscoe 6 bikes to our school program fleet. This was with the help of our municipal partners as well as the Rotary Club of Grande Prairie, Rotary Clubs of Grande Prairie, contributing a grant to that. So we were really excited for the large allocations committee to commit to that. We upgraded our 15-passenger van for use as a bike shuttle. installed the first in North America easy loop bike lift system on our platter lift, bringing lift assisted mountain biking back to Nitehawk following our landslide. This was a great addition, and actually that post went viral with 32 million views on Facebook, which I've never seen before on our Facebook page. So it hit people all over North America. We upgraded our ski and snowboard rental equipment for public and school use, put roughly about $56,000 into that. That was with fundraised money as well as municipal contribution. We installed a new 6-bedroom staff accommodation unit, which is now which houses our winter foreign workers. I think in my past presentations, I've mentioned that staffing has been an issue and finding qualified instructors in that for the season. So this is certainly helping with that. Last year, we attracted 6 staff, 3 from Germany, 2 from Australia, and 1 from the UK. So that was great to have them join our team last year, and they certainly added to that. We updated key components on our 2015 Snowcat. Again, this is we looked at trading in a Snowcat because this was the year to actually to upgrade one of our Snowcats, but because it hadn't met its maximum hours, we decided that we'd update these key components and get more life out of it. That was on recommendation from Prinoth Snowcats. Updated some of our LED lighting, again, in our efforts to reduce our energy consumption. We also, with our board, and this isn't necessarily to do with our funding that we received, but our board and committees worked hard on this in terms of developing an RFP for slope remediation, a slope remediation plan for the landslide area. We also developed a best management practices for erosion control at our facility, working with a local engineering firm. And then some other big upgrades that are just improving guest services, but also our administration ability to do their job. Fiber optic internet at the chalet was a huge thing for us. We have experienced outages for many, many years, and that has improved things. We've also installed Wi-Fi at our lower tube zone chalet. Oh, go ahead.
1 minute.
Oh, 1 minute. All right. I'll jump through these. All right, so key results to update. So we're about enhancing community well-being, and again, fostering mental health and physical well-being throughout the recreational activities that we provide. We welcomed over 25,000 public visits last year with the winter, and then of course our summer activities with bike and trail. Educational programs, 6,000 school students went through our programs, and that's on growth from pandemic times, and we're seeing more growth going forward. Family recreation, Bear Paw saw its busiest year yet last year with over 11,000 public visits, so that's been huge. And then of course our quality of life that Nitehawk enhances in our region. I'm going to skip over our successes.
No,
and then,
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Add those in. Go ahead.
Sure. So in terms of our successes, we secured our tourism commercial land lease for 60 years, which is a huge thing. So it's right up until 2083. So I will not be around by then, but whoever is, they'll be grateful that that is there. A new water diversion license was also secured for 10 years up until 2033. Previously, we were on a 3-year rotation with that. Also hosted our comedy night at the Bonnet Center with more sponsors engaged, and our ski swap came back with increased attendance. And a big one last year, and again, thank you to the Games Society for their support with this, but we hosted an amazing event with Alpine and Freestyle at Nitehawk for the 2024 Alberta Winter Games, which our staff and team and board are very proud of. The venues and everything that were put together, and the comments we were getting back around, you have the best terrain park in Alberta last year, we're very welcome. We've also continued to grow our corporate functions and private parties back. Our school group programs are coming back in full force, and like I mentioned, Bear Paw. In terms of our challenges, the big thing that we're seeing constantly here, and I brought this up the last presentation that I did to you, but our rising operational costs. Insurance fees have continued to rise for us. Obviously, when RMA dropped us and 13 other ski areas, we saw an increase now to $172,000 for the year for our insurance premiums. Utility energy costs over $300,000, and of course, staff wages are continuing to go up to be able to attract staff in our region, and that's been outpacing revenue from ticket price increases, and last year we did about a 15% ticket bump to try and catch up with that. our weather dependence and everything, again, as you all know, this year was not a great snow year. I think Wapiti Nordic had to bring in snow to host the Alberta Winter Games this year. And of course, that delayed our snowmaking. We didn't finish snowmaking for the latest in my 18 years with Nitehawk, January 27th. So that was a huge thing. And of course, as Mayor Potter mentioned earlier here too, forest fire season affected our RV park revenue. Infrastructure impacts, as many of you know, the highway construction that's been happening on Highway 40 has increased the travel time to and from Nitehawk, as well as now on Highway 666 for the last month and a half. That's affected our RV park revenue as well as our bike park revenue this summer. And then the biggest, one of the other challenges here is the need for a long-term funding agreement and engaging with our municipal partners and the administration to secure that long-term funding agreement. So I'll just skip to this slide here. I won't go through the annual challenges faced. Again, I can share this presentation with council later just for further review. But so this past season, we ended our season with a $162,000 deficit. We are also into our operating line for $60,000, which has helped us pay off vendors at the end of the season. Again, missing out on the month of December and end of November. To put it in perspective, Christmas is roughly about a quarter of our operating budget for the winter, so that is a huge hit, and of course not finishing snowmaking and being able to go to full fair until January 27th. Typically December 19th, before Christmas holidays hits, we have got enough terrain and lifts open that we're at full fair, so that significantly impacted our ability to maximize our revenue this season. I'll skip over this and go into our asks to council. So our asks to council going forward here. So again, obviously continued support of our capital improvement program in 2025 and 2026. I know that City Council has already approved that for the 2025 budget. So thank you for that. An increase in our support of our energy and insurance-based operating grant. Currently, from our 3 municipal partners, we get $200,000 in operating funding, which goes strictly to that. But as mentioned earlier, we have $172,000 in insurance fee costs, and then over $300,000 in energy costs per year. So that $200,000, when that first number came out, when we first came up with that number years ago, is certainly helped, but it's not having as great an impact now. The other thing that we'd like to do, as I mentioned, with our deficit that we had this year, so we would like to ask council for an approved reallocation of $62,500 of existing 2024 capital funding to help offset our over $250,000 deficit experienced this past season. For your information, the MD of Greenview Council has already approved $125,000 reallocation from the 2024 capital funding to assist with the deficit. So our ask is to your council, and then we'll be going and presenting to County Council on the 12th of August with the same ask. The other thing is, in terms of that long-term funding agreement, is having council task administration to work with Nitehawk and our other municipal partners to develop a long-term funding agreement that addresses rising operating capital improvements and aging facilities. As many of you know, Nitehawk's been around for 64 years, and our facilities have been aging ever since that. And these capital improvements that we've been doing annually, like the heat pump and that, have certainly added to the longevity of our facilities, but that's not negating the fact that they are aging. Continuing discussions with our provincial government and RMA to consider assistance with insurance needs for small ski areas facing drastic premium increases. Us and 13 other areas experienced that when RMA canceled on us 2 years ago. So that, again, if it was an option, it would be certainly helpful. Just to put it in perspective, our property insurance premium costs are roughly about $115,000 of that $172,000. So we have talked about that in the past, that if one of our municipal partners was interested in partnering on that, maybe that's an option, but we haven't had any takers on that as of yet. The other thing too is, on a lighter note and a happier note, I would like to invite each and every one of you to our 28th annual Comedy Night fundraiser happening on Saturday, September 21st at the Bonnett's Energy Center. Again, this is a great evening with some great comedians, sponsored by local businesses, helping us raise funds. Last year we raised over $100,000 at that event. Or grossed over $100,000 at that event, and we'd like to see that continue to grow. And again, I'd like to thank you all. I'll just quickly rip through these, just so Councillor O'Connor doesn't pull the hook on me. And just thank you, and really appreciate your partnership and again the impact that that your funding has on our facility and our ability to continue to support the community, the partner groups in the pictures there that we have, and the thousands of guests that we have to our facility every year. It's very much appreciated. So thank you.
Yeah. Thanks very much, Jonathan and Aaron. Thanks for your report. You squeezed another 12 minutes out of me.
I'm so sorry. Oh, well, thank you. Okay.
Councillor Bosch.
Thank you, Chair O'Connor. Thank you both for coming in. A great presentation, very in-depth. My question to you is in regards to the campsite that you have at Nitehawk. Has there been any increase in campers coming or recreation coming in the summer to build some finances up for the winter?
So typically our RV park does see a fairly significant uptake. Usually we have a waiting list. And we've added additional sites around the chalet. Adding we used to add like a 30-amp receptacle wherever we could, essentially, just to put an RV there, and then they would be on a waiting list to then get into an actual site. This year and the last 2 years, just with the construction that's been happening on the highway, some of the comments that we've been getting from some of the, again, our long-term campers that are working for oil field companies and that south of town have been the crew bus will not do a backtrack to come pick them up in the mornings, so they've had to go to other campgrounds along the route heading south of town. So now that Highway 666 is reopened again, my hope is that will come back. We typically have seen, again, with those campers, we do see usage of our RV park, our bike park, as well as the restaurant when it's open with bike park hours. So that's promising as well. And then, of course, we do see the weekend camper as well with families coming out. We have our group site, which if you've never been, it's absolutely beautiful, 600 square foot pavilion with heat. And then we've got a 3,000 square foot grass area and everything. So if anybody is looking for a place for a family reunion, and that's my little plug, is to come and check us out.
And a follow-up on that question, in regards to upgrades or continued strategic planning for the campsite, do you have anything on the books or for any of that? So it would have been pre-pandemic, we had planned to add another 80 sites, which would be loop 3. So there was surveying done, there was tree clearing done, nothing more than that. So it is planned. At that time, we had roughly about an estimated cost of about $10,000 per site to install. That was obviously with some gift in kind in that. We haven't revisited that since then. Just obviously with all the things that have happened, but that is something that is on the radar for us, and it is something even as we go forward here. I had our RV park manager come to me yesterday saying that we need more 50-amp sites because the size of units now coming in are not meeting the 30-amp power that we have, which is the same thing we experienced down at Bear Paw as well. So I have another one, but I'll wait till others go.
Okay. I just have a quick question on the remediation. I'll get to you in a second, Mayor Clayton. As far as the remediation is concerned, you're applying for grant monies and the design is in the process, I take it?
Yeah, that's right. So we've worked, the RFP that was released was to help us essentially get to a point of a slope design. We haven't quite got to that point yet. There's been a lot of work done in terms of monitoring the boreholes, the 19 boreholes that we've installed on the hill after any significant rain event. We've been doing that. So we've got some significant data going forward to help us with our decisions and that slope modeling. But right now we've accessed the CFEP grant through the federal government or provincial government, on that, along with the MD of Greenview kicked in, I believe, $75,000 to help with that planning as well. So there hasn't been any movement in terms of construction yet. We have also formed a chairlift feasibility committee, an offset of our planning committee, more so to investigate what the possibility is of getting a chairlift back. So that committee has been tasked with talking with industry experts, from engineers to operators to lift installers, and then the regulating authority, ADARSA. And through those conversations is a lot more optimistic in terms of the possibility, but they'll be bringing a motion forward to our board to then essentially move to the next step on that. So.
One more
Thank you
thing
very
to note
much.
one more thing to note on that as well. Part of that, while we're going that pathway, is we did have a preliminary design for remediation slope, but that was going to be a very high capital cost, and that was also operating under the assumption we had to remediate the slope before we put the chairlift back in. But after, as Jonathan mentioned, our committee did some more investigating. There's actually potentially a way where we could put the chairlift back in before the slope's remediated. So.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Clayton?
I'm good, thanks.
Okay, and Councillor Bosch.
Thank you. I guess my other question is, you were talking about $300,000 in regards for power and utility costs. And with some of the changes that you have implemented, I don't remember what it was called, but for
the heat pump unit.
Yes.
Yeah.
What do you think the reduction is that you'll be looking at? Is it significant or is it minor at this point?
To be honest, I'd be making up numbers if I tried to say what impact that's going to have. I can certainly get that information from LSM, who's our supplier, but Brian Freemark with LSM did say that this is going to significantly reduce energy usage. So it'll be interesting to see how that does affect it. But we've continually seen, not so much on the natural gas side, but our energy rates, even though we're locked in to a buying plan until 2026, which would significantly reduces our rates. It's through a group called Energy Associates International that does the investigation. It's through Canada West Ski Area Association that we actually a conglomerate of areas that are buying power together. So that's reduced it there. But again, with diesel fuel costs going up 42% last year, and other things going up that way. We're looking now also at having ATCO Electric. When the landslide happened, our three-phase power at the bottom of the hill actually was taken out. So I was just in discussions about 3 months ago with ATCO on getting the power back installed to the bottom of the hill because now with the rising costs of diesel fuel, we're no longer at a better situation by operating on generators with our snowmaking system. So bringing that power back down to the bottom will likely reduce some of our costs that way. But I've got our energy use data for the last, I think, back to 2016. And even back in, I think it was 2018-19, our energy costs that year were over $305,000. And then depending on weather, depending on what lifts and when we're operating lifts, and if it's during snowmaking at the same time, that can drive up our rates. And of course, we're operating on peak demand, right? So as I'm sure you guys know, when you hit that peak demand, then you pay that rate for the rest of the year. It follows you. So last year, for example, our highest energy rate bill, or not this past year, but the year before, in 2023, January 2023, $33,000 in energy costs for that month, and $11,000 was actual energy, and the other $22,000 was distribution fees. So
It's a month, not a year, right?
that's for the month, yeah,
Yeah.
January, month of January.
Right, but you don't get locked in for the year. You get locked in for the month,
Oh, no.
correct?
Well, those peak demands follow you. So, I mean, even in the summer months when we're not using much, or let's say April, when our shoulder season, our power bill is still roughly about $11,000 for that month. So, yeah.
I have some business if others are doing.
Okay, if and nobody else, I'll go ahead and do business, please.
Okay. You'll have to help me out with your asks
Yep.
image. Can you put that
Oh,
back
for
up?
sure. Yep. There we go.
Okay. I move that the funding request and reallocation of $62,500 and additional supports for Nitehawk to be forwarded to budget deliberations this fall.
Okay. Okay, Ms. Whiteway.
Thank you, Chair. Just for clarification, going into budget, so I believe the request was to reallocate 62.5. So that's already funded in 2024. So just for clarity, I believe you have the funding now, but council had directed that it be used for operating. They just like to move it to capital, but it doesn't have to wait until budget deliberation.
Okay, so we can split that?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Let me split that then.
Sorry. Other way around there. Sorry. sorry, Danielle, is essentially to take from capital funding, $62,000 from existing capital funding that's been already granted for 2024, and reallocating that to operating to help with our operational deficit for this last winter season.
Okay, before we go on, CEO Burke.
If I could just one further suggestion that committee recommend to council so that council approve that decision.
Okay.
On the reprofiling of the capital to operating.
Okay, we'll move that to council meeting. Okay.
Okay, finish. Is there a motion there somewhere? Okay. Committee refer the funding request and additional supports the budget deliberations and recommend council reallocate the existing capital funds to operating. Is that correct?
Are you good with that, CEO? Yep. Okay.
Yep, it looks like that motion is in order. Call the question. And that's carried unanimously. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your report, and wish you luck in your hill.
Thank you so much, Chair O'Connor, and thank you, Council, for your support and like you said, continuing to be a great advocate for recreation in our region. 100%. That'd be great, Kevin.
Forward to it.
We'll see you at the comedy night for sure. Okay, our next report, as our delegation is leaving, we'll go to 4.1, Service Area Update. Mr. Chief Lemieux.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'll start my update today with the RCMP. So during a recent traffic stop of a suspicious vehicle, the vehicle was detained for an investigation under the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act, which led to the arrest of the individual. A search of the vehicle found scales, an imitation firearm, a small amount of cocaine and meth, and several $1,000s in cash. Next is Camp Little Buffalo. So the Grande Prairie Municipal and Grande Prairie Rural detachments of the RCMP hosted Camp Little Buffalo July 16th to 18th for the first time since the COVID pandemic. A number of youth were selected from Grande Prairie and area schools to participate in the camp. This is a great RCMP-led initiative to positively engage with local youth. So thank you to our RCMP friends for hosting Camp Little Buffalo. From the fire department is pleased to announce that Captain Rob Martin has accepted the role of Deputy Chief, filling the vacancy that was created with the promotion of Chief Van Werkhoven. Deputy Chief Martin is a 23-year veteran of the department, and he brings a wealth of operational experience to the role. DC Martin was born and raised in Grande Prairie and is well known for his involvement with community-based initiatives. So congratulations to Rob Martin on his promotion. Emergency management and GPREP. So the lightning storm of July the 19th, that was last Friday, caused about a dozen wildland fires in the region. Most of the fires were actioned very quickly by Alberta Forestry and local fire departments. All fires are either contained or have been extinguished. And as you may know, early this morning on July 23rd, residents of Jasper were evacuated due to a wildfire threatening that community. Residents have been directed west on Highway 16 through British Columbia and asked to travel back to Alberta and register at reception centers in either Grande Prairie or Calgary. We opened our registration reception center at 9 o'clock this morning. We haven't received anyone yet from Jasper, but we expect certainly some evacuees to travel to Grande Prairie. We are also hosting some evacuees from the First Nations further north. So busy time for us at GPREP. Under Community Social Development, the Grande Prairie Local Immigration Partnership is organizing activities for Welcoming Week 2024. The kickoff event will take place on September 13th at Teresa Sargent Hall, with daily events continuing until September 22nd. Complete calendar of events will be released in late August, and administration will ensure that these events appear in your council calendar. Next, I'm going to move to Housing and Homeless Initiatives. So Housing and Homeless Initiatives is working closely with other internal stakeholders to submit a submission for the second round of Housing Accelerator Fund. With the launch of this second Housing Accelerator Fund, $400 million dollars in funds may be available to local authorities to incentivize the implementation of local actions that remove barriers to housing. The application portal is open from July 15th to September 13th, so we're working on our application right away. From the Community Knowledge Campus, a total of 289 athletes attended the 6th Eastlink Centre Triathlon held Sunday, July 7th. A special thank you to Councillor Thiessen, Councillor O'Connor, and Councillor O'Toole for their support at the Kids of Steel finish line, where 178 youth athletes aged 3 to 13 were awarded their medals. And the Aquaterra Outdoor Pool Youth Nights began on July the 4th and continue every Thursday for the remainder of the season, with a $2 entry for all ages, or for ages 13 to 17, within water volleyball and basketball games available. And Grand Access Pass Members Night began on July the 2nd and will continue every Tuesday for the remainder of the season. And Grand Access Pass members can bring a friend for free and make music requests when they attend. And the Summer Blast Pass sold 1,170 passes, which is on par with last year's sale, so we're very happy with that. And on membership and growth for the Eastlink Centre, we're happy to report another increase in Eastlink membership and Grand Access passes for the month of June 2023. Compared to the month of June 2024, the increase of members is 40% increase, and increase in membership is 30%, so very significant. So very pleased with the performance of the entire Community Knowledge Campus. And from the Dave Bar Arena started offering drop-in pickleball and toddler time for July and August. Pickleball has been a hit. We hope to attract more foot traffic at the facility with this initiative. And with regards to the Eastlink Centre, the annual aquatic shutdown is scheduled for September 3rd to September 27th. This maintenance helps to ensure the facility's longevity by completing preventative work, repairs, and a deep clean and upgrades to amenities. To accommodate our members, the city continues its partnership with the Beaver Lodge swimming pool located in a new Vista Energy Centre. For Eastlink members and Grand Access Pass holders, they can enjoy free entry during public swim times. And during the shutdown, we encourage visitors to explore and try something new at the facility, such as our special dry land fitness classes and fall fitness pass. And membership holds and cancellation options are available for our members. And competitive swim clubs and user groups will be utilizing the Aquaterra Outdoor Pool extended season for as long as the weather permits. From Sport Development, Wellness, and Culture, venue tours for outdoor facilities are taking place this week, along meetings with Special Olympics Alberta, as we are now just under 1 year out from the event. The Games Manager will be attending various community events to begin raising awareness and start the volunteer recruitment process this fall. And summer camps in the month of August have only 29 spots remaining, so registrations can be done on the city's website. And to complete my report, Mr. Chair, from Grande Prairie Police Service, 5 experienced officers graduated on June 21st. 2 of those graduates are deployed to the Grande Prairie RCMP detachment. 1 officer has been deployed to Alert, and 2 officers will remain with the transition team, building up the new police services crime scenes investigative team and a tactical response team. And enforcement services. Enforcement Services peace officers are actively working to address a major foxtail infestation throughout the city. Several remedial notices requesting property owners or their representatives take control of the weed before it goes to seed have been delivered, and charges are forthcoming for property owners that have not shown efforts are underway to remedy that particular situation. And the newly established community engagement team in Enforcement Services is working well addressing the street engaged population. Additional officers will join the team in the next few months. And Enforcement Services initiated a response to vehicle noise concerns in the city. 2 structured vehicle checkpoints were established and resulted in numerous violations. And a noisy vehicle enforcement and amnesty day training session was offered on July 20th. That was this last Saturday, with a few city residents taking advantage of that. And lastly, I just want to advise council that we've received downtown parking inquiry, and administration is seeking direction from committee to see if there's an interest in receiving a report from administration on the history and status of downtown parking. So, Mr. Chair, that is my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Wow, that was a very extensive report. Thank you, Chief Lemieux. I just want to comment compliments to the RCMP for re-engaging Camp Little Buffalo. Very important program, and kudos to them. It's all volunteer, and they get donations for food and everything, so much kudos out to the RCMP. Any other questions for Chief Lemieux? Seeing none, we'll move on to 4.2, 2024 National Aboriginal Championships. And as we get Miss Bieberdorf and Shinau Esau,
Shinoa Isa.
Shinoi?
Isa.
Esau, thank you. Okay, go ahead, the floor is yours. You have 2 minutes. Oh, that was a joke.
We can do that. Thank you, Chair O'Connor. Just before Chinoa starts, I just wanted to acknowledge Shannon Dunfield. She was unable to be here with us today, but she contributed significantly to the success of the event, and we just wanted to thank her for that. So I will hand it over to Chinoa.
Thank you, Katie. So the National Aboriginal Hockey Championships took place from May 5th to 11th, 2024, bringing over 400 participants and nearly 6,000 spectators to the Designworks Centre over the week. 1,900 hotel room nights were booked for participants. All games and events were free admission, making it popular amongst school-aged children and families. Cultural events and initiatives included a pipe ceremony, smudge teepee, Dene hand games, Arctic sports, beading and drum making workshops, and various Indigenous performers. The YouTube live stream channel saw 800 subscribers with an average of 10,000 views per day, made widely popular by the play-by-play Cree announcers. We received a few testimonials post-event that I'd like to share. I really enjoyed Grande Prairie. I loved the access our players had to the grocery store, hockey equipment store, mall, thrift store, and even some of their favorite fast food stops. I found everyone to be so awesome and welcoming. There was just something special about this year's NAHC. I enjoyed it so much on so many levels. Great job, well run. I really enjoyed my first experience. I am cultural, so really appreciated having the space to smudge my athletes and participate in those ceremonies. I truly believe that's what sets this tournament apart. The host society is recommending that the legacy funds be dispersed through Indigenous Sport Council of Alberta grant funding streams. Funds would be distributed to Indigenous Métis or Inuit residents or communities within 100 kilometers of the city, or within Sturgeon Lake Cree Nation, Horse Lake First Nation, or Duncan's First Nation. Funds will be distributed as follows: $12,500 athlete equipment grant to fund sport equipment purchases for individuals of all ages, $9,000 to the community equipment grant for First Nations schools and community centers to purchase sport equipment, and $16,000 to the elite athlete grant, providing support directly to athletes competing to cover travel, fees, and equipment to reduce financial barriers to elite competition. And that is my report.
Okay, well, thank you very much, I'll get it right. Okay. Any questions?
I've got no questions, but I will take care of business.
Okay. Mayor Clayton's ahead of you, sorry.
Yep.
Mayor Clayton.
Thanks, Chair O'Connor. Just a question. Appreciate the information in regards to the recommendations. Was there any consideration or evaluation of needs of supporting local Indigenous youth and rather than supporting Indigenous youth across the province? Did we have any conversations with local organizations or either of the local Indigenous groups on the perimeter of our community and from our region to see if there was needs locally?
Thank you, through the chair. So in discussions with Indigenous Sport Council of Alberta, the funds that are distributed will go to our local communities and individuals. So it'll be within 100 kilometers of the city instead of across Alberta.
Sure, and sorry, I'll rephrase it. I read that, but I'm locally within the city.
Okay.
I can take that one. Thank you, Mayor Clayton. So what we were looking at is trying to align with Pursuit of Excellence, which has a boundary for how far we fund. And then we added Sturgeon Lake Cree Nation, Horse Lake, and Duncan's, because some of them are just outside of the 100-kilometer range. So there will be opportunities for local community organizations as well. We just wanted to identify the First Nations specifically if they fall outside of that 100-kilometer range.
Does that answer your question, Mayor Clayton?
Not really, but that's okay. Thanks.
Okay. Councillor Bosch?
Hi, thank you for the report. These grants, will it be just first come, first serve in regards to who applies, or is there a set path on who it's going to already?
Thank you for the question. So ISCA has a grant procedure in place for the grants already. So they have an evaluation criteria. I don't believe it's first come, first serve, but that's not a question that we asked.
Yeah, I'll try to answer a bit more of that. So they have a couple pots of money. So this money would be identified specifically for people within the region. So when they're making their recommendations, these pots of money will go to residents within the Grande Prairie region. And then they have set amounts each year for the whole pot. So this will just form part of the pot for the northern residents.
Okay, with criteria that goes with it that you stated. Okay, thank you.
Okay, with that, no further questions. I'll go to Councillor O'Toole for business.
Yes, thank you very much, Councillor O'Connor. I move that committee recommend council approve the National Aboriginal Hockey Championships legacy funding to be dispersed to the Indigenous Sport Council of Alberta.
Okay, that motion is in order. Call the question. And that's carried unanimously. Thank you very much, ladies, for your report. We'll now go to 4.3, vehicle for hire. And let's see who's going to be. I will go to Chief Lemieux to introduce. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So on our outstanding items list, there's item 1301, which is was asking administration to investigate opportunities for a taxi commission within the city. So I'd like to introduce Sean Hebert from Enforcement Services, who's our subject matter expert in this area and has prepared the report for you.
Chief Lemieux. Good morning, everyone. I'm Sean Hebert, Operational Support Supervisor and Chief Licensed Inspector with Enforcement Services. And I'll be discussing the Vehicle for Hire Taxi Commission report that I had submitted there a couple weeks ago. So I took the opportunity to have a look at 7 municipalities across the province, which encompassed Edmonton, Calgary, Airdrie, Red Deer, Lethbridge, Medicine Hat, and St. Albert, just to have a look at what they were doing within their municipalities in regards to a taxi commission or even a Vehicle for Hire commission. My search did not reveal any active taxi or Vehicle for Hire commissions in operation within those municipalities. They take the same approach that we do here in Grande Prairie, where the Vehicle for Hire industry is regulated through municipal bylaws, not through a taxi commission or anything of that sort. One of the things that had come up during the delegation's presentation before, which spurred on this report, was other municipalities placing a cap on their active number of taxis operating within municipalities, and even going so far as to say introduce a cap on ride shares. Through my research, I found that there's only 3 municipalities of the 7 that I looked at that have an active cap on taxis. That's being Edmonton, Calgary, and Red Deer. And I can say I've had conversations with Red Deer, and they're removing their cap. They're in the process of phasing that out as of 2028. And I do recall speaking with representatives of Red Deer in the past. They're very interested in what we're doing here for our vehicle for hires, with where we don't regulate the rates. We don't regulate the number of cars they have on the road or the number of companies or anything like that. So we have had other municipalities reach out to us with what we're doing here. Further to that, none of the municipalities that I had looked at regulate ride shares at all, or pardon me, put a cap on ride shares. It's open market for ride shares for that. So that was an important part of the report here as well. Locally, we did a local stakeholder engagement between May 21st and June 4th, 2024. The survey that was sent out was to all of the vehicle for hire stakeholders. So that includes your drivers, the chauffeurs, and the company owners, operators, dispatch licensees. So in all, there was 249 surveys sent out. These surveys were distributed in the same way that we do for the notification process when it's time for the April and the spring and fall taxi inspection cycles. And the reason why we did it the exact same way is because we have kind of a baseline of when we send out those notifications. Typically within a week, we'll get 50 to 75 taxis booked in for like the response rate is high. And we use their preferred email address. So on all of the active licenses, the licensees have their preferred method of contact flagged. If that's email, that's how we contact and reach out to them. And that's how these surveys were distributed. For those that did not have email, I think there were 7 of them. They were sent out letter mail for those ones. So everyone that we could reach out to, we did. Of the survey, so there was a sample size of 249. Unfortunately, we only had 15 responses come back, 15. Of those 15, 6 respondents indicated that they were in favor of a vehicle for hire commission, while the remaining 9 had opposed that. So the outcome was we found 94% of the targeted stakeholders did not respond. And with a response rate of 6%, we believe that the stakeholder engagement survey revealed that there's minimal interest in the formation of a taxi or vehicle for hire commission in the city of Grande Prairie. And again, this suggests that most industry stakeholders do not see the need for additional regulatory bodies or to institute a cap on the number of vehicle for hires that we have on our roads. And that's the end of my report, and I'll open it for any questions.
Okay, before I go to anyone else, I'll go to you in a second. Everyone is required, whether or not you're a ride share or a taxi, to be licensed in the city of Grande Prairie, am I correct?
That's correct, yes. They all require a chauffeur's permit.
Okay.
Yes.
And between them, do you know the rough numbers between the number of ride shares and the number of taxis? I see a number of 249, but I don't know if that's all inclusive. Just curious to how many.
It would, yeah. So, pardon me, through the chair. Yes, it would be all inclusive altogether. Unfortunately, in our system, for the chauffeurs in particular, we don't identify which company that they drive for because they can use that chauffeur permit. They can drive for a taxi company in the morning, and they could be a ride share at night. Like they could rent a car from one of our taxi companies that have their fleet cars and rent them out. With that chauffeur permit, they can work for any company.
Okay, thank you. I did not know that. Councillor Bosch.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the report and looking into this. You know, there wasn't a definite call for action with only 15 participants in this survey. So I'm good with leaving it as organic as it is. The patrons of this community will do the natural selection on their own. So I think we found out what we needed to find out in regards to if there was a need or a call to action with this these types of organizations. So thank you for that.
Okay, and go ahead, Councillor O'Toole.
Thank you very much, Councillor O'Connor. So you have, was it 285 taxi or licenses?
249.
249? How many of those are active?
Oh, those were all active.
Those were all active.
Yeah, so we had, pardon me if I may look at my notes here. There was 216 active chauffeurs and 33 active dispatch licensees. So that's, and that represents both the taxi companies and ride shares. So everyone that has an active license were extended a survey.
I know of an individual that drives cab all day and then he does deliveries for Skip when he's off. So he's on the road quite a bit is all I'm saying. And one of his concerns was there were so many people delivering that he has to work so much because there's no cap. And He was here. He presented, and you know, it's one of those dog eat dog worlds out there. So I'm not concerned. I'm glad the way it is. Let's not alter anything, and we'll keep going.
Okay.
Thank you.
I will look for someone to do business. Councillor Bosch.
Sure. I move that committee receive this information, or this report for information. Thank you.
Okay. Call the question. And that's carried unanimously. We'll now go to, thank you very much. Appreciate it, Sean. And now we will go to the grant application. And for FRIAA, so I'll pass this over to Chief Lemieux, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this report is with regards to a FRIAA. FRIAA stands for the Forest Resource Improvement Association of Alberta. They've opened up a new round of applications. FRIAA's Fire Smart program accepts proposals twice a year. So we continue to seek funding through FRIAA for Fire Smart program. So about a year ago, the city applied for 2 FRIAA grants under the vegetation management and non-vegetation management streams. We were successful in one of those 2 grants, and the vegetation management grant that we received in the amount of $200,000. That project is currently in progress and will be completed before this intake's funding decisions are finalized. So currently, city administration is submitting 2 more applications to the FRIAA's Fire Smart grant program. First application is for vegetation management to continue to do some vegetation management in the Bear Creek corridor, as was recommended in our 2019 wildfire mitigation strategy. And the second application will be to provide public education on a Fire Smart program, including a Fire Smart home assessment initiative. So in order to be complete the application, we need a motion from council. So that's what the request is all here. However, I also want to share, Mr. Chair, that with regards to Fire Smart home assessment requests, we have received a number of requests this year, and all of those have been actioned through the fire department, either on duty crews or fire prevention or other resources have been used to assist homeowners that have asked questions or had inquiries about the Fire Smart Home program. If we were successful in the application, we would dedicate resources and we would do extensive door-to-door knocking, and also would do some marketing of that particular program. So those are the 2 applications that we're proposing to submit to FRIAA, and we need a council motion showing support for that application. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions? Seeing none, I'll go to Councillor. Sorry, I didn't see your hand, Mayor Clayton. Sorry.
Thanks, Chair O'Connor. Chief Lemieux, in regards to the application and the public education streams, is this a similar intent that we had applied for previously and we weren't successful in regards to fire smarting residential areas adjacent to heavily wooded corridors?
Through the chair, yes, Madam Mayor, that is true. We weren't successful last year and received some really good feedback from FRIAA in terms of how we can provide a better, stronger application process. So we're looking forward to this next round.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor O'Toole for business, please.
Thank you very much, Councillor O'Connor. If there's no other questions, I would go look after business. So I move the committee recommend council support the City Forest Resource Improvement Association of Alberta, commonly known as FRIAA, grant applications with the following motion. Council is committed to support the City of Grande Prairie's grant applications for the vegetation management and public education streams under the Forest Resource Improvement Association's Fire Smart program.
Thank you. That motion is in order. I call the question. And that is carried unanimously. We will now move on to item 8, outstanding items list, and I'll pass this over to Chief Lemieux.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the outstanding items list today, we dealt with item 1301, so I would recommend that you remove item 1301. The rest of the outstanding items list is accurate.
Okay, and I look for business arising. Councillor O'Toole.
Yeah, I move the committee receive the July 23rd outstanding items list as amended for information.
Thank you. That motion's in order. Call the question. And that carries unanimously. With that, we'll adjourn Public and Protective Services, and we'll come back in a couple of minutes to the Financial Administration.